This is a group, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it, that I so far gotten horribly wrong. But I'm happy about it because you want to see the stars shine. And like you said, France, the individual stardom of France, Kylian Mbappe delivers. That's 14 goals in his last 12 matches for France.
Absolutely wonderful stuff from him, and 3-2 in this World Cup as well. And it was going to always be interesting to see this game because obviously they've been formidable opponents for them in those recent Nations League games, and France hadn't been able to beat them, but they beat them on the biggest stage of all today in the World Cup and managed to secure their ticket and their spot into the last 16. So it does make the group interesting, but also watching for us today, we had Nedum Onuoha joining us here on ESPN FC Daily. And I think it might be, especially on my watch anyway, Nedum's first appearance on the Daily.
All right, Nedum.
Hey, it's good to be here. I've made it. I've officially made it. Thank you.
Did it. What did you take away from that game, Nedum?
I think it was a good match. Obviously, you fancy France as the favourites within it, but then Denmark really came into it once they went 1-0 down. But then France to just have that quality at the end, and you know it's exactly what the tournament needs. Someone like Mbappe scoring another goal, so it's always going to be a big talking point. And the French, they've qualified, they've done their job within the group, and now they can start to think about sort of their progression towards the final, which they want to get to defend their title.
Yeah, that's the biggest advantage there, Murray, what Nedum just said at the end. Now that they can relax and they get Deschamps, one of the biggest issues I guess I had for, Le Bleu heading into this tournament was there were so many outside issues for the French national team and a transitional midfield, etc. But now they can relax a little bit and sort of rotate against their final game against Tunisia. And this was really about, individual brilliance against collective will from the Danes, because I had a lot to say for Denmark, and I've been a little bit disappointed for them. They showed a little bit more fight today, but well done, France. You deserve all the credit, and now round of 16 for you.
I think that the World Cup Jenga, do you know where you keep seeing how many more pieces you can take out without it falling? And so far, so good. Those injured players keep falling. We've even had our French journalists change their mind on whether France can go all the way because of the pieces that have been falling. Kylian Mbappe. No, please don't let me curse him. Please, please, please. We want a tournament with him in it.
Okay, be very careful now.
I know. Karim Benzema falling on the eve of the tournament did make Jules think twice about whether France were going to go all the way, even though he had predicted that. With what you've seen so far, Nedum, would you bet against them?
I think the fact they've qualified first is very significant, and in the fact that they're scoring goals, that's really exciting. There's something that you want to see from them. I think Julien Laurent, he's a bit tense because he thinks defensively they're not as good as they could be, and maybe at times today they was kind of caught out. But realistically, they've got to fancy their chances. They've been there, they've done that, and now they can sort of focus on the later rounds, and that's a real privileged position to be in. And losing someone like Karim Benzema, the reigning Ballon d'Or, is obviously a huge concern. But they're so deep sometimes that you forget that they won the World Cup 4 years ago without him. It's mind-blowing to think about. And obviously their ceiling might be a bit lower because he's not there. But when you're looking at the likes of Mbappe, you're seeing someone like Dembele, you've got the potential all-time top goal scorer for France and Giroud playing up there and some depth behind it. They've got to fancy their chances, and it's not necessarily feeling like wise money to bet against them at this moment in time.
Denmark, LME, is a team that you've been pushing all the way from the very beginning, and now things could be a bit more difficult for them. So how do you see it for them going forward? Do you still have faith in them?
The first thing I want to say, which is part of this argument, Kay, is that full credit to Australia. Apologies, Australia. I didn't think you would get anything in this World Cup, and you got a win against Tunisia, very resilient win. So that makes it even more interesting for Denmark, because they have to face each other, and the winner of that basically gets into the round of 16. I was disappointed with Denmark in the first game. I think that's where really they blew their chances. They really should have beaten Tunisia, given by what we've seen so far from them. So I think that that's an issue for me. But you made a very good point, Kay, early on about how there was outside problems going on with Denmark, given the, One Love armband situation and how they're collectively getting together with a few other teams, fighting against their need, and they're wanting to really speak out against some injustices in this World Cup. Maybe that's been an issue, of course. But, I think the loss against France, there's no shame in that, defending champions. It's the loss against Tunisia that really set the scene for them. So, but I still see them. I know Australians are like, what are you talking about? But I still see them beating Australia and getting into the round of 16. But we'll have to see
well,
what happens.
Yeah, obviously their first win in the competition for Australia and their first win at a World Cup since 2010.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.